Hey, thanks so much for stopping by. A short review before I have a long live discussion with Malt Muser here after this show. This is just a little short 10-minute show, and I figure, well, let's start off with a good warm up whiskey. Uh, Bunnahabhain is an Isla distillery, and they are usually non-peated. They do have some peated offerings, but most of theirs are non-peated, which is a little different than Isla, typical Isle, I'd say. And this one is the Bunnahabhain Stiuireadair. It's a mouthful, but that's how you say it. And basically, they define it as helmsman. I've heard it also translated as superintendent, basically the head of the ship. It sounds like this is a 46.3% ABV, which is very, very reasonable, especially for NAS. They released this to try to compete with their lack of having the 12-year-old available. The 12-year-old is extremely popular as well as their 18. And I guess they were selling so much of it that they thought, well, we better have something else on the ready if we're running low. So hopefully it meets the standard of the 12, because the 12, even though it's an entry level whiskey, it's a gem. It's really close to 4 star. If it's not a 4 star whiskey, it's at least a 3.75, the 12-year-old. So let's jump into this one and see what we get. It's not colored and not chill filtered. So right off the bat, the craft is good. The craft is there. I'm happy about that. And looking into research, they did first and second filled sherry casks. So that is a lot of sherry. So hopefully we get a lot of sherry in this. And the 12 is notorious for being a good sherry dram. So let's dive in. Oh, wow. The note you get is a brininess, like just out the yin yang. Briny, briny. Um, a bit of a rope. Maritime notes are in there. Seashells, sherry, like I said. Fruit wise, it's like dates. A lot of nuttiness going on. Medium floral notes are in there too, which is really nice. The only other fruit I'm getting off of it is like a white grape, though. It's not a bad nose. It's just, you could tell it's a little raw and rough out around the edges. It's got some young stuff in there, and that's okay. It's a pleasant nose so far. Let's go and see what we get on a taste. Mm. Unfortunately, it's a thin mouth coat, so that's got to be a little nick on the score. But with that said, salty white pepper. Wow, salty white pepper. Um, some pears, dark chocolate note, caramel, some toffee and hazelnuts. And now it's funny because it starts off with a lot of white pepper, and now we're getting a lot of black pepper notes. A little oak, but overall, it's also got this on the back end. It's got this really heavy malty whoppers kind of note too, which is kind of nice. Huh. Finish is medium. Medium marzipan with oranges, though. Very spicy. Cinnamon. Almost like I don't get this note very often, but it's got this like balance of sweetness and spiciness that reminds me a bit of like a persimmon, if you've ever had one of those. Red chilies. And even though it's not peated, there's a slight smokiness going on in there. I think it's probably reminiscent from the shells and the maritime notes. Huh. Let's have a couple drops. This is 46, so it should be able to handle a drop or two of water. Get out your pipes. I'm not talking about spoons if you can help it. I don't disrespect people from using spoons. That's fine. I just like to better fine tune the water I put in, especially if it's 43%. I don't see how anybody can use a spoon if it's that low in ABV, but I salute the masters that get away with it all the time. So I just like to have a little more handle on water, how I add it. So gave it a couple drops, give it a couple swishes around, give it a little time, let it settle a bit. Since this is a live review, we don't have a lot of time to wait. So, oh my. The citrus fruits come in the forefront on the nose after the water. It's not, the white grapes were there before, but now it's more like, and not just citrus fruit, it's almost like a gumdrop type of nose. Like yellow, orange, red gumdrops. Huh. Nice, just different with the water. Spice levels dropped a little. No, vanilla is definitely in the forefront now on the palate after the water, but the white and black pepper notes are actually even boosted up even more. Wow. And water does that a lot with spice whiskeys, white spice bombs almost. Really brings out the peppery notes on whiskey. I'm not sure why that is, but it happens 9 times out of 10 for me. I get more spice with a couple drops than I do without. I'm not complaining. Some Smarties, some like confection sugar type of on the palate too. Interesting change on the finish after the water. It gets a little drier, but I'm not complaining. A bit of a tea with tobacco type of finish after the drop or two of water. Gets a little more dry and leathery at the same time. Not bad, not a bad dram. Do I like it as much as the 12? Unfortunately, I don't prefer it, but I could see where subjectively someone could prefer it maybe than 12, but a 12 has more of a refinement. The sherry is rounder. It's definitely a little mellow. It's good, but this is rough around the edges. This is like, appreciating a very intense painting. There's also always the classic masterpieces that are really, nice and subtle and pretty, but there's also some nice factors to like, really aggressive, edgy, in your face type of art, and that's kind of what this feels like comparatively to the 12. I'm not going to score it as high as the 12, but I don't disrespect it for being a well put together dram. The NAS thing kind of, I wish they had some more truly aged juice to use. It's a shame that they're running out of 12. But I think they did a good job with what they had to work with. I'm surprised of how good it is for the price too. I don't factor price into scores, but that's something I kind of try to throw in on the side. So if you have to replace the 12, I don't think it's a bad deal at all. Since it's cheaper, the 12 usually runs 55 to 60, 65. This runs between 50 and 55. It's about $10 cheaper across the board. So budget-wise, if you can afford the 12, get the 12 or even find it. If you can't, this is not a bad deal. Just don't let this be the be-all, end-all to your Bunnahabhain experience. This Bunnahabhain is not like other ones. Maybe it's kind of similar to the Ancledoc, which I did a review on, but that's like a 50% ABV, more of a cask strength level in your face, but a little more refined at the same time, even though it's also NAS. That's a travel retail. But, not bad. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. The 12, I would give a 3.75 out of 5. And the 18 is like a 4.5 out of 5. And I've never had the 25, so hopefully someday. Well, thanks so much. And sadly, they didn't give me a 10 when I bought this, which really kind of pissed me off. So if you do have a 10 out there and you don't want to keep it, send me an email at telex@outlook.com. That's TELEX at outlook.com. Let me know if you don't mind sending me a little bit of the 10 so I can add it to the old Bunnahabhain collection. Because will I buy this again? It's iffy. I might if I have to, if I can't get the 12. But once I've bought something and there's so many other things I want to try, I usually move on. So you know how it goes. Well, so much of all for now. I'm going to go and take a look with Mont Muser at the Supernova. It's a stellar release from 2009 Ardbeg. I'll see you in here in just a couple minutes. Stand by.